And our story is about the hag that is responsible for all of the geography that we associate with Scotland, Queen Beira, Scottish Queen of the Winter. Perfectly appropriate for this time of year, don't you think? Scottish Queen of Winter, Queen Beira the Hag, mother of all the gods and goddesses, older than all the gods and goddesses, older than all the mountains, older by far than all of humanity. Now, I hear you out there asking, how old is she? Well, be careful who you question, my friends, and about a lady's age. They say a wizard asked Queen Beira how old she was, and she replied, I've lost track of the years, but I know I'm older than the mountains. And she began to sing. I am lonely and cold, I am lonely and old. How can I be happy? All alone in the dark, all alone in the cold. It's winter at Beira, is raining. What was gold is now gray on my head. My mantle is no longer green. Each flower must fade and fall dead. It's winter and Beira is queen. And during her song, she waved her gnarled fingers, and the wizard disappeared, and he has never been heard of since. She is older, though, than those mountains in Scotland. And I know this because they say that she is the one who put them there. She changed much of the geography of Scotland. Where there are rivers now was once fields, where there was flat land, are mountains. And she built those mountains by putting boulders in an openwork basket called a krill on her back. She and her hags would run from one end of Scotland to the other, bringing these boulders and stacking them high. Today in Scotland, I'm told that some of the rocks, the boulders that fell out, made little islands in various waterways, and people still call them the spillings, or the spillings from the large old woman. But when she would bring the boulders together and stack them, she would make mountains. And she only had one little tool to help her, a hammer. If she beat it once on the ground, the dirt would form such a hard pack, it was like iron. If she beat it twice, she could make those boulders mold into a mountain. And with 3 taps, she would make the individual tops of each mountain. Because with all this new geography, even Beira herself could get lost if she hadn't made them look different from one another. She didn't always have hags with her, though. In the early days, she had maidens. One of her maidens would follow her around. Her name was Ness. And she would follow her from place to place, Nessa, and try to do all of those things that Beira would do. When Beira was making Ben Nevis, the tallest mountain in all of Scotland, she had hammered once and hammered twice, and it was hot and thirsty work. And so she'd climb back down to the well that was just above the valley below the mountain. And she had one condition: to be in charge of all of the springs and fountains in Scotland. And that was those waters needed to be covered from sunset to sunrise. So Beira drank and drank, and then Ness came down and watched her. And Beira had taken the big cover off of the well and placed it back carefully and climbed back to the almost finished Ben Nevis. And Nessa took the cover off of the well and drank as she had seen Beira do. And then the sun went down and she had forgotten to cover the well. High on Ben Nevis, Beira heard a roar, a sound like thunder tumbling and drumming. She looked back over her shoulder and she could see Nessa running down towards the valley below, her chestnut hair spreading behind her in such a look of fear and desperation, trying to outrun the waters. Because nature's order had been disturbed. The cover had not been put back on the well. The waters had boiled up and they had breached the well walls and they had cracked through the earth's surface and they were running, tumbling down toward the valley, chasing Ness as she ran. And Beira knew she could not save her. So she turned her into water that would always run. And so it is that the river Ness flows down into that valley that makes Loch Ness and then out again to the sea. After that, Beira didn't take maidens, only hags. But even the hags were nowhere near as old as Beira. She was ancient. Her skin was so wrinkled and weather-beaten. You could scarce make out her features. She had nothing but snowy, ashy, dirty braids on her head. Her teeth were rusty red. They looked like a rake poking out of her mouth. She had a drab, dun-colored shawl that she kept around her stooped shoulders. She should have been pitiable, but she was, oh, so powerful and strong. She would rule over winter until the end of spring, when she would fight it out. Bridie's husband, Angus, the younger, the ever young. She would fight and fight with them until at last beautiful Queen Bridie, Queen of Summer, would win. And Queen Beira, Queen of Winter, would leave. But there was another fountain she had charge of on the Green Island. Have all of you heard of the Green Island, that island that appears and disappears in the seas around Scotland? My great Uncle Willie swore he had seen it as a young man sailing and fishing around. He looked out and there was a gorgeous green island where there had been none before. It was the end of a long summer day and the sun was just starting to set, making sparkling diamonds on the waves, more beautiful than any jeweler. And the mist that rolled in was twinkling, and he got his boat ready to make the short trip out to the Green Island, and a wave came up. And when it disappeared, the island was gone. And a moment later, the sun sank with a bright, wee green flash. That's the way of it, because only Beira knows where the Green Island is at all times. Because at that end of spring, after her fight with Queen Bridie, she goes to that island and she drinks from the well that's on it, the well of youth. She drinks her fill, she covers it carefully, and then she hurries back to Scotland, where she falls into a deep and magical sleep. And when she wakes up, her limbs are supple and strong and young. Her skin has no wrinkles, and her hair is the exact yellow of the bud on the broom where she will frolic and play all summer long. Anonymous, she gambols all over Scotland. But with each month, she ages quickly. until at last winter comes again, and she is stooped and old. She loses her green gown. She loses her garland of brightly colored flowers. Her face becomes hardened and old and featureless. But she has that power and force of a bitter north wind. I am lonely and cold. I am lonely and old. How should I be happy? All alone in the dark, all alone in the cold. It's winter and Beira is raining. What was golden is gray on my head. My mantle is no longer green. Every flower must fade and fall dead. It's winter and Beira is queen. So you see, now you know the secret of her long, unimaginably long life. 3 things: hydration, a bit of magic, and a summer vacation every year. So as we go into our hot summer here in California, I hope that you find hydration, perhaps a bit of magic, and may you be blessed with a summer vacation. Thank you.